from over there. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Well,
but they
that's
come pre-corona though, so I mean, that's a bonus.
They didn't used to.
My husband works in the manufacturing industry, and like it's true that they can get like materials like say steel from China for a lot cheaper, but it's well known that Chinese steel is not the same quality as US steel. It's
and
just not.
what I
So
think
go ahead.
Donald Trump was saying that back in what 2014, 2015, 2016. Again, I was never on the Bernie bus, but I was a never Trumper, and now I'm a like sometimes Trumper, you know.
I want to see what the Democrats get what they deserve her.
I,
Yeah.
I guess I'm a. It's hard to see the other side of the coin when you're both on the same one. Or so.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to say this, from that standpoint, it all boils down to the party in power, in one way or the other. It pick a side. They're going to be corrupt if they've got a president from the other side. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there is as much corruption in the Republican Party as there is in the Democratic Party, and I consider these attacks on Trump, this attempt to get him out of the White House, as corruption. It's rife throughout both sides, throughout Washington. So we can't. I'm so tired of people sitting around and taking a side in the corruption. I'm like, so you can't call out corruption on this side while you sit and prop up the corruption on the other side.
Yeah.
It's not possible. It's
Yeah,
too
you're
widespread.
absolutely right. And
Absolutely right.
just to say, I don't, when I bag on the left, it's because I come from the left. So for me, like, I find their corruption so much more hateful just because it's like, I feel that I'm attached to it in some way. So I do kind of like, it's like for the right, I'm almost like, well, I expect that out of those guys. They're Republicans, right? Of course, they're corrupt. But for me, I'm still like reeling from like accepting that these, the party that I was going along with has corruption. So I do bag on the left a lot more than I bag on the right. But the feeling is mutual. It is two sides of the same coin.
And I think I'm the exact opposite of you because I came from that right thinking that where I was very conservative, very right wing, and I am a lot more critical of them because in my mind I think, well, of course the left is bad. But now it's like, oh, but the right is too. Like, so that's I think that's why we're such good friends.
Uh, yeah, Ed, it does look like we lost the stream.
Well, we're not live anymore.
Oh, we're live again.
Oh, we're
Oh.
live again? Oh, okay, okay.
It's got a new YouTube link, so you'll have to
Well,
refresh from the front page.
Just jump out to hit it out there in Discord too. Make sure you're hitting your
Yeah,
Discord
yeah.
channels to make sure people know, and
Well, guys,
so Steven will know too.
I'm going to be right back. You can leave me on and stuff. I just need to take a euphemism break.
Yeah, I think it's this so many people are like Jessica said, bagging on the left, but I mean bagging on the left right now is the flavor of the year, the administration. I mean, it's just it's popular to bag on the left, right? Democrats are bad. Democrats are bad. And if Trump were to lose the election, and Biden takes the seat, then it's going to be time to bag on the right, right? It doesn't matter which way you go because the right's going to be going after Biden. And it's like, oh, or they're bad people because they're going after Biden. They're, blah, blah, blah. It's a never ending fucking cycle that drives me through the fucking roof.
I mean, I guess I see it a little differently, but also I live in a extremely left wing
Oh, yes,
area.
you do.
I mean,
Yes,
I
you do.
knew this, but California is really just blue.
No, you guys are they're so
I mean,
far left. I'm surprised you still have a right hand.
So yeah, when I mean, when our governor, when like what was it, John Cox, I think, ran for governor, and you saw no ads. I mean, that guy literally was just like, yeah, I'm here because they needed like a name on the other side, but we all know who's going to be governor. Like that's how bad it is. But I think I see it a little differently just because it's consistently for just years and years and my whole life hearing how bad the right is. So I think that it's both ways. I think that it could be kind of like depending on where you're at in the country, what you're listening to, and the the people that are just generally around you every day. I think it's pretty fair on both sides to see that the right and the left take they both punch down equally.
Well, I will say this after almost 52 years growing up in this country, no matter who stands at on a debate stage and says, I'm going to come in, I'm going to shake up the establishment. It's not going to be about business as usual, blah, blah, blah. Not a goddamn one of them's got it right. Not a one of them's done that part. Nobody has shaken up the establishment. Nobody has changed the status quo. They all wind up cucking to the establishment.
Of course, because the establishment is the one that's putting on the show.
So, it's also the one that puts the money in their pockets.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you can't go and say I'm going to shake things up to the people that are putting on the whole party. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to do what you're told, and you're going to make some hot takes. You're going to inflame your base and get them to vote for you, and eventually we're going to realize you're just the same as everyone else. And that's just how it always is. It's how it's always going to be. I'm hoping it's not, but I don't see how it can be much different. That's why for me, whoever's president next, it's like they're both gonna just choose socialism in their way.
Well, I mean, this situation right now with everything that's going on with the stimulus and this, that, and the other, it's making the great argument for socialism in people's minds, like the sheeple out there. This makes a great argument for a socialist mentality, because here's the government calling a crisis and starting to give out the gimmies, putting it out there for people. And, that sheeple mentality is like, okay, well, I'll keep my hand out for the next administration.
And unfortunately, the way to cure that is to let this play out the way it's going to play out. I guarantee. Let it play out. Let these people see what happens, because next year they're going to be paying back that $1,200. Next year they're going to be paying back what other people that couldn't pay back that $1,200 are paying back. We are going to be paying for this crisis for a long time.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's actually going to work. Just letting it play out that way. What I mean is, I don't think it's going to work in showing people, what socialism does and what it is. What it's going to do is just make people want more socialism, right? Obviously, we didn't do enough, so we need to just inject more socialism to make it work.
Right,
and that of course will lead to full blown.
Right, it's like the parent that as soon as your kid falls down on their butt, you run over and you grab them and pick them up. No, fucking let your kid pick themselves up for a moment. If they're not injured, of course, majorly injured, let them stand up on their own 2 feet and learn that you pick yourself up when you fall down. But, this is not a lesson that a lot of people are going to learn in this country after a situation like 2008 and after a situation like this. People are starting to accept the fact that there's a government there that is going to attach a parachute to them anytime it looks like they might fall out of the plane or get pushed out of the plane.
Do you think that deep down most people realize that like this situation that they're continuing to push for, it's not going to affect them because they're going to get what they need right now, but they know that's going to affect their children, their grandchildren, and they just don't care?
I don't think
like, am I giving them too much credit?
I think there's a lot of people that are not that far-sighted.
Yeah, that's what
they see the here and now, and and a lot of that comes from when you live paycheck to paycheck. You don't really look 3 months down the road. You don't look 6 months down the road, because the only immediacy is today when I get my paycheck, and then the stress of the next 6 days till I get my next one.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think as somebody that grew up with not a lot of money, or whatever you want to call that, somebody that didn't have money growing up and things, to somebody that has fairly decent lifestyle now, and I think that one of the things that I had to really look at was, am I going to be able to struggle now more than I already am, but because it's going to help me in the future? And I agree with both of you guys. I don't know that people are willing to do that. I don't know, because
Well,
it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do on just like a micro level. So on a macro level, it just,
I mean, I would hate
Yeah.
to see it happen, but I can honestly, in my heart of hearts, the only way that that is possible, the only way to get America and get Americans back to the point where they are self-reliant, where they can pull themselves up, we need another Great Depression.
that's, yes.
It's we
I hate
the
saying
Great
that.
Depression. The Great Depression made some of the greatest Americans, the greatest American spirit amongst people. People, because you learn something. Like my grandmother used to tell me these stories of being living through the Great Depression, and a wonderful dinner was a piece of fucking bread with some ketchup squirted on it.
Or, and I know this will never happen, it's just like a fantasy of mine. We all just say tomorrow, you know what? Screw you, we're not paying taxes anymore. The Constitution wasn't given to us. We let you know what we wanted on the Constitution. We're just going to go ahead and go by that as a whole group. And then we have to do the even scarier thing of relying on ourselves. And
Yeah.
and I that's not going to happen, but it's sometimes I like to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's there. The sad part is, you throw we've heard the word butcher's bill thrown around, and I call it acceptable losses. Um, yeah, I mean, we need a situation that comes in and hits us really fucking hard. And yes, it may wipe out anywhere from a quarter to a third of the population, but it's the wake up call that people would need to become the type of person you were describing, Brett. I mean, because right now we're taught to be short-sighted. Everything that we're taught in this society is
And that's
short-sighted.
by design. I mean, I can't. It's literally what
Yeah.
it's by design. I can't
To keep
see
the
it.
ring in your nose.
Well,
Keep
it
the ring
creates
in your nose.
dependency. Yeah.
Well, I've said the same thing about student loans too. That's the other topic that's going to come down off of this, because those are being in a state of automatic forbearance because of all of this. But the student loan thing is not an accident, and it happened on purpose. Now, a lot of people come out and say that for student loans, it was because you need this kind of degree to do this, and it's just that the government subsidizing set the cost up. And I don't think it's that. A lot of these jobs that are out there, you don't need a degree to do the job. You have a device in your pocket. All of us have a device in our pocket at this point that'll give us any piece of information that we want in the world at a moment's notice.
You're talking about our trackers? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our tracking chips? Gotcha.
So getting the information is no longer a problem anymore. My ex-girlfriend once said that she doesn't really know how to do her job. She just uses Google a lot. And she's a computer programmer.
Well, I'm a high school dropout and one credit away from my AA in college after I got my GED. And, I'm not stupid. I could do a lot of jobs, but, we've built this stigma that all of this is necessary, and student loans are the way to make it happen. And it pumps a shit ton of money into systems that don't need it, or drives people into so much debt because your worth is not important anymore.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how much money you've got in the bank. What matters is, what's your credit score? How much are you capable of being given on credit versus how much you can actually go buy? That's the big problem in this country. Yeah. Everything
and credit
is credit.
A terrible system. That's why I refuse to play into it. I don't own a credit card at all. I have a little bit of credit, for just in case I need something, but I don't even have a credit card at all. Every car I've owned, I've paid with cash.
Well,
or made a deal with the person themselves, if not through a dealer.
Go buy a fucking house. That's the biggest goddamn ripoff I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
Yeah.
I bought a $200,000 house, and it's going to cost me $450,000 to pay it back.
That's
What?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
out here, it's crazy. We paid $500,000 for a 3-bedroom house with an office. I mean, it's cute, but it's not a $500,000 house. It's going to cost me $1 million at the end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I just kind of going back a little bit to the student loans and everything. One of the things that I think um, pushes that narrative too is that we teach kids from a very young age now that they can be anything, which is like great to say.
Don't get me
No,
started. Don't get me
somehow we've
started.
lost the plot and we've told them that they can be everything. And I think that's why so many people go to college, because they can't figure out, like, they don't know what they want to be, but they might want to be this and that and this and that. And so, well, let's just rack up the money. And colleges tell you, like, hey, take this. This is where you learn to explore yourself. This is where you learn, what you want to be. And a lot of people just don't want to accept that you might not be able to be everything. And you shouldn't pay tons and tons of money that's going to take you a lifetime to pay back just to explore something you might want to do. Sorry to kill your dreams, kid. My dad makes a lot of money. He runs 2 warehouses for the biggest avocado company in the world. He can't do anything else, but he makes a lot of money, and he's just accepted, like, this is my job, and who I am outside of that is something else. He has other interests. He surfs, he does other things. And we've somehow tied our livelihood to our whole life and given it all of its meaning. And we need to, from a very young age, start telling kids, hey, look, you have an aptitude for this. Does that interest you? I mean, I just think that it would go a long way, so that when you're picking a college, you don't go, well, like someone like me who wants to be a graphic designer, I don't have to go to the best college. Like, literally, I could take online classes. Actually, I would encourage people that want to be in design to take online classes. Like, it starts just from this this kind of narrative that we push towards young people, and why they feel like they have to do this. Look, if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor and you're good at that, and that's something, those are some things where you might need to go to, like, some of the best colleges, get the best training. Yeah. But if you're like most people, you don't need that. That's an experience that you want. And it goes further to say, because I don't believe that that's something that's essential, I don't think you need that for 90% of people, I don't feel like I should have to pay that back for you.
Well, that specific narrative is one that I refused to put on my children. As they've grown up, and I have a daughter, and she's tested very well off the charts, gifted, the whole 9 yards. And she says, well, this interests me, and she wanted to be a doctor for a little while, but I'm a realist, and I tell her, okay, yeah, if it's something you like doing, let's follow it along, follow that path, while you're growing up, and look at different things. And but it's going to cost you 8 years of your life. It's going to be one of the longest college experiences you're going to have, and so you really want to be sure that it's what you want to do. And my ex used to get on to me because I would constantly put new things in front of them, whether it be different types of games, or different types of television shows, or different types of activities, whether it was chess one day and Star Wars the next day. This very broad base of things that will either spark interest or push you towards things that are more interesting because you don't enjoy it. And she's like, oh, you don't want to you just throw so many things at it. And I'm like, what do you think the world's going to do?
Yeah.
The world's going to throw a million things at them that they must do.
Yeah.
So I'm letting them explore what they want.
And I agree with you. But that's something that's not costing $100,000. I just think there's something to be said for parents looking out for a child's interest combined with their aptitude. Look, I would love to be a concert pianist. It would be great. I don't know how to play the piano. I'm not going to pursue that if I'm terrible at it. And I'm not going to, I wouldn't want someone to encourage me to keep doing that because you got a dream, kid, go for it. And I sound horrible. I probably sound like the soul crusher of a person. I'm not saying to not encourage your kids to do things when they're young. I'm saying exactly like you're doing with your kids. I encourage you to do it with your when you're young. I don't want you to do it in college
because of
when
expectation.
yeah,
Yeah.
because now you feel like you don't know. Like prepare them younger than that so that they have an idea. And sometimes people do go into college. I thought I was going to be an interior designer. I found out that I was much better at graphic design. I'm much better in, in a digital space than I am in like a real life space. And like that's fine. I get that. Things change, but I don't think I would say most people don't go in and say like, well, I might want to do this, I might want to do that, and have no clue. And then, or I'm saying most people do, a lot of people that do that, and then spend all this money. Like, then take some time. Don't
Right.
don't spend the money. Don't do that to yourselves. You have to look further in the future. If anything comes out of my time with you guys, I hope people get that. Like, look further into the future. Don't plan for just right now. Don't do what feels good just right now.
Well, this is, I think for me, I see the root of that problem in what children are being taught. A lot of it is rooted in the fact that there's so many parents that aren't raising their own children. Their children are being raised by daycares. Their children are being raised by after school care. Their children are being raised in these other ways that because the family unit is not happening at home. Everybody's got to work, and the kids don't have the moral compass that the parents would like to give them because they don't have enough time to do it. Mm-hmm. And there's so much indoctrination out there in the world happening on a small scale that people don't even realize. But the things that your kids are learning in daycare and school, oh, Jesus Christ, you need to stay on top of that. Yeah. It's insane.
And again, it goes back, a lot of people, it's too late for them. There's a lot of choices I wish I had made younger. And that's why I keep harping on this. But if you don't have kids yet, think about that, because you are going to have to make decisions for your kids that you don't necessarily want. When my son is just in kindergarten right now, and we have already, we had pulled him out actually the day before the schools went on lockdown, and he's now registered for homeschool. It means that what I'm doing is now put on the back burner because I'm going to have to be doing all these things. He's going to have a teacher that he sees once a week, but I'm taking him on the field trips. I'm the one doing the day-to-day. But I was in his classroom every week, and I love his teachers. I love their principal, but it wasn't the type. I don't want him to learn in that way. I don't want him going through what I saw him dealing with and what I saw other kids dealing with. Mm-hmm. And there's no possible way that one teacher can handle 28 kids' specific, unique needs. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's what I got for right now.
Well, that was why I supported Andrew Yang in the beginning. It was because that part of me that said, okay, for better or worse, a UBI of $1,000 a month to each adult means that a parent could stay at home and raise kids in a two-parent household. That means we could get back to parents raising children if we wanted to go that route.
You really think the corporatists would allow that, though? That's something you have to keep in mind.
Who?
The corporatists.
And also the new wave feminists.
Well, I mean, if there's a UBI in place and my wife's got $1,000 coming in and I've got $1,000 coming in, well, guess what? In the present day and age, $2,000 is a monthly income for a lot of people. So yeah, fucking stay home, and the other person go gets a really good job or the best job they can.
Or the prices go up to reflect the fact that everybody's getting an extra $2,000 a month.
I get it. I know that argument, but
I mean, there's two sides of it. I mean, I'm on the other side of it where it's like, I'll let people take their lumps and learn from let one generation fail greatly so that hopefully the next generation learns that lesson, which I'm sure you have to keep teaching it. Jessica mentioned on her show a couple weeks ago, hi, that we are in a time of great prosperity and people have forgot that we had struggled. And like, that's one of the things like that stuck with me because it was so poignant and so true that because most of us have lived in this time of great prosperity, that we don't realize that the things that we're complaining about, the things that we say are these huge problems, are not the problems that the country had before, and that now we're going to be seeing again. And I hate saying that people have to learn that lesson again, but
Well, I'm not trying to make the argument that a UBI it was fiscally a great idea, but it's more to the fact that how do it's next to impossible to come up with a scenario that we get parents raising their children again. That's my biggest concern, because if parents aren't raising their children, and yes, it all falls down to the values that those parents have that are raising the children, I get it. But when you're letting society, which is inundated with PC speak and all this crazy mindset, if that's raising your children, then you're not able to really instill the kind of morals that you want.
yeah,
How do we get back to that?
I don't think that UBI
Well, I mean, it's just
would make that much of a difference. I think people would still do what they're going to do because it's almost like trying to legislate morality into people.
Sure.
And we can't do that. It really has to start with conversations like we're having. I feel like it has to start on such a micro level. And with people like you who teach your children a certain way, people like me who are willing to say, look, I'm going to just put my needs on the back burner and I'm going to raise my children in this way. And it really has to be an organic thing that people start doing. I really honestly believe that's the only way that we can get to those values because we can't. People are going to do what they want to do. And I think anytime you give people an easy way to do something, they will look at that 99% of the time and go, that's a good idea. I'll do it later. Like,
well, I can agree with that.
I think that there is a culture issue here. Politics and all that and is downstream of culture. And we are in a time where it's actually considered shameful to be a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe not amongst the people here, but there is a chord in our culture that you see in our entertainment and our storytelling, our shows, where it's like the woman who has it all, where she is both a high-powered CEO and she's raising a passel of perfect children who, are all well-adjusted and don't have any reaction at all to being raised by someone who's not their mother or what have you. And we have seen a shift back toward valuing more traditional ways of living, but there's a stigma that goes to it because of feminism, that we fought so hard to get women out of the homes. I don't advocate for putting women back in the homes. I want that to be a choice that's voluntary. Some women want to be homemakers and some women want to be mothers. And if we cultivated a society that valued that and put that up and said, that is a worthy career, that is something that you can do with your life that we as a society find worthy. Well, I think that the benefits would, in the children, for the children especially who make up the next generation, would be exponential if we didn't have this like shameful attitude about motherhood. Like we tell teenage girls if they get pregnant that their life is ruined. Like, can you imagine that you should say that your life will be ruined by the birth of a child? That's certainly the message that I got when I was in my teens, was that if you get pregnant, your life is over.
Well, that disparity, it works both ways, though. I was a stay-at-home father for 9 years, and I was a piece of shit for doing it because I wasn't the man out making the money.
Yeah, there's a lot of expectation.
And all of that is by design, though. Think about that. It's what's supposed to happen by design is that we all go to work, you as a father, me as a mother. I'm not saying I have to be the one that raises my kids. I think my husband would be just as capable. I don't think that is his lot in life. He doesn't want to do that. But it's by design that the state wants you to be replaced with them, that the state wants to raise your children.
There is a lot of that, yes.
It's in the schools. It's the way daycares run it through feminism. Feminists, to me, and I would actually consider me and Jessica feminists. I would say we want
maybe in the second wave vein.
Yeah, we're not
for
like